NutriCast.
There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, I'm the founder, and my mission is to help ethical entrepreneurs and holistic healers to find their voice through spiritual coaching and podcasting. I'm honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through healing, kindness, innovation, purpose, and spirit. Understanding that to create collective change, we need to be the change. It all begins with us. Dr. Lisa Winters is a veterinarian and animal communicator on a mission to create a better world for all creatures. With a passion for animal communication that goes beyond just a psychic connection, she uses all of her skills as a vet and animal communication expert to get to the root of her patients' problems and help cure them of various illnesses. Our dogs Spencer and Lola also joined in on the episode, and Lola receives a pet tarot reading not to be missed. Welcome, Lisa, to the Ethical Evolution.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, it's lovely to, I'm using the air quotes here, but it's lovely to have an Australian with me. From Perth via Washington. Thank you for joining me. For those who don't know what you do, can you go ahead and tell us?
Yes. So I am, obviously some of your listeners will probably pick up. I do have a bit of a funky American Aussie hybrid blend accent going. So I am originally from Washington State. However, I've been here in Perth, Western Australia for over 20 years now. I'm a veterinarian. I'm a pet tarot and animal communication expert. I was actually an animal communicator before I became a vet. I now obviously incorporate animal communication as a vet and vice versa. But before I decided to grow up, I actually rode horses and trained horses for a living, and did show jumping and had a big training stable and did a lot of purchasing racehorses off the track and reschooling them into show jumpers and, taking them showing, that kind of thing. And my back decided that I wasn't going to be able to do that when I was 70 years old. So I decided, as a mature age student, that I would go back to school, and I was either going to be a human doctor or an animal doctor, and I chose the animals and became a veterinarian. So I actually came here to Perth to go to vet school back in 2001. So I've been there. I've been here ever since. So I haven't gone back. So I'm now a permanent resident of Australia and permanently an Aussie now. So with no intention of going back. So yeah, just a little bit of a background about me.
And we will gladly take you as an honorary Australian. Thank you for joining us, not just here on the podcast, but as an Australian. I'm going to call you Australian now, and we're going to own that, just saying.
Absolutely.
Now, you and I were chatting offline, about dogs and all this kind of stuff, and our dogs just met virtually. I'm in Brisbane, you're in Perth. We're in the same country, but we're on different time zones, opposite sides of the country. And little Spencer, your dog, is like, I think how we met was through Facebook.
Yes.
And you posted a picture of your dog. When I saw your dog, I was like, I swear to God, the photo of your dog sat on my screen for at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was mesmerised. I was like, I have to meet this dog.
Yes.
And so here we are, and we just met Spencer and my dog Lola, who's been on more than one podcast episode, was with us. And I can swear to you that she has never reacted to anyone on a screen in 12 years like she did to Spencer.
Yes.
She froze and she stared at Spencer like,
did, absolutely.
Who are you? I know you.
Yes.
I can't stop looking at you. So
it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was really incredible.
So I was holding her and I felt her energy. She was frozen. She was not moving, right?
Yeah.
So as an animal communicator and as a vet, how do you read that?
So I read that she, all of a sudden, her attention has been drawn that, one, there is a level of connection and communication. And I think that when we open the line of communication and open that line of connection, that it really does all of a sudden take their energy to a different level, because they're now all of a sudden realizing they're going to have a voice, going to be validated, going to be acknowledged. And so it is, it's quite interesting how they respond. Also, they're also quite interesting enough, and this has been something that I have dealt with all of my life. Animals have always been drawn to my voice. And so oftentimes they will hear that my voice, and that connection then kind of opens up the level of communication. So I can't tell you how many times I've done interviews and did teaching and on via Zoom. And when we get on, anyone's pets show up. Like they come into the room. They're like, I don't know where they've come from. And they're all
come to your leader.
In the room. They're right here. They're like waiting and listening. So I think, I think I do think there's a level of familiarity that when you can, Spencer would probably be putting out there, hey, my mom talks to dogs, so she's pretty cool. You should have a listen and a chat with her. And it's just that kind of interaction, I think, that always happens.
And just out of interest for you, Lisa, Lola can't hear anything we're saying right now because it's all through my mixer and my headphones.
Right.
So she can't hear you at all.
Oh, there you go. So then it was definitely Spencer sending her messages. So, that's incredible. That's so incredible. You just can't make this shit up. So,
no.
Sorry.
No, swear ahead. Go for it.
Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I have to catch myself and think, oh, shit.
There's no boundaries here. Go for it.
Okay.
But like for those people who've not seen Spencer, go ahead and tell us about Spencer.
Yeah. So Spencer is the absolute love of my life. He is...
Bring him up if he's still here.
Do you want to come up and say hi, Spencer? Come here. Good boy. Well done. Come here.
Lola, do you want to say another hi to Spencer? No, she's asleep.
No, this is Spencer. He says, I'm a bit...
Oh, Spencer. Hi, darling. Hello.
So Spencer is he is a pug Shih Tzu Chihuahua. His dad was a full blood pug. His mum was a Shih Tzu Chihuahua. I actually got to see both parents. He was living in a cardboard box in a crack house. So he got saved. He was the only one left living in this little cardboard box. It was quite a surreal moment going through and getting Spencer. But so I've had him since he was 6 weeks old. So he's been with me now. He's coming up on 9 this year, which I still have trouble actually physically saying because he's still, my pup. So he has been an integral part of me creating Pet Tarot and the actual meaning of Pet Tarot and what Pet Tarot actually represents from the pet's perspective. Him and a lot of other animals I've done readings with, but just kind of having his presence and listening to his continuous dialogue in my ear. He'll help me, create the meanings of the tarot cards. So he does all of my pet partnership programs. So he's the first animal that my students communicate with because he's very well versed in it and he knows how to use his voice. He's had a voice since he was 6 weeks old. So he's really good with animal communication. Like he's very well understands what it is, and will always have, good conversations. A lot of dogs, if they're not used to communicating, or sometimes don't want to, it's a bit like, don't want to go there. Whereas Spencer's been, had, like I said, had this voice for a very long time. So he's easy for them to practice on, because he's got this giant personality that fills a room. And yeah.
And I guess one of the connectors between Spencer and Lola is that she's part Chihuahua as well.
There you go.
So, but, one of the things that's just come up for me is that, like with Spencer and Pet Tarot, like how does that work? Like, tell us about Pet Tarot and how that works.
So Pet Tarot was created about 5 years ago, partly to prove that it could be done, partly to become a training tool for animal communication, for me to be able to teach animal communication really well. I think one of the biggest things that people, when they're learning animal communication, get stuck on is getting out of their own head and trusting in the information. And I found, by pulling a card, they could focus on the card, they could focus on the information of the card, and that got them out of their way, so the messages from the animals could come through. So it's a really good anchor. Obviously, there's messages with the cards, but it's also as an anchor. So it was decided I was doing a advanced human tarot therapy program, and I decided one day I was going to do Pet Tarot. And of course, everyone's just like, what? Who does that? And I go, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And so I created it. And so I started working with it. And so the first thing that I did was I sat with the animals and asked them, okay, let's start with the basics. And the basics are the elements. And so there's 4 suits in the tarot cards. There's the cups, the swords, the wands, and the pentacles. And each one of those suits has an element with it. So the cups is the water element. And in Pet Tarot, from the animal's perspective, this is about their love, their emotions, their feelings, their love for their people, their love for their things, their love for their other animals, how they deal with their emotions and feelings and those kinds of things from their perspective. The swords, that is the air element. So from the animal's perspective, this is about their voice, having a voice, wanting to communicate, being able to communicate. Swords are air. The air element's very transformational, so it's allowing their voice to be transformational in their environment, in their world, in things that they would like to see done. The wands is the fire element. Fire element, from the animal's perspective, is all about their soul contract. So animals sign a soul contract with us before we come earthside, and they sign this contract as to when they're going to come in and become a part of our lives and why they become a part of our lives. So the wands is really about their soul contract and what they've come here to do, to be with us, and what they're here to teach us. So it's about their soul passion, their soul, soul work. It is about, what lights them up, what they're joyful about, those kinds of things. The earth element, the pentacles, which is the earth element, from the animal's perspective, this is all about their self-worth. This is about being in service, their job, what they're here to do as a job, not what they're here to do as their soul contract, but what they're here to do physically, in their presence. So this is around their self-worth and how important it is to be in service, and what they would like to have is to be in service to their people, and that can range from, actually being a true service animal to being, a working animal, to a racing animal, to a companion animal. The breadth of it is quite large, but it is about their self-worth and how important that is. And it can also be about a lot of their physical resources, a lot, health, things they like, food, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how the basis started. And so then I just really started doing the readings, and I started to see trends in the cards and what was coming through, and how those were starting to be interpreted. And so the major arcana, so there's two aspects to, I don't know how much you know about tarot, but there's two aspects to tarot. There's the major arcana, which is the trumps cards. In pet tarot, these are messages for the owners. So the animal comes forward as the guide and brings a message forward, for the owner to focus on, because they're life lessons that, we have to learn, so, for example, if the magician card comes up, this is the pet bringing forward to the owner saying, you need to really start to listen to your guide, follow the synchronicities that are being spoken to you. I'm here to help you be a guide, so that the pet acts as a guide through the fool's journey. And so these messages come forward for the owner. Whereas the minor arcana cards, that's, more the messages from the animals. So, in this card, this is about the family unit and the importance of being part of a family unit, from the pet's perspective, and how much they love to be part of that family unit. So the messages just started coming through. I started seeing trends. It became one of my, biggest services. Everybody wanted a pet tarot reading. And then I was like, right, I've got to teach this so people can start to, the ripple effect. I'm really, it's the ripple effect, really. It's about starting a change and allowing people to learn how to become an advocate and a voice for the animals, because the animals have so much to teach us, and they're here to teach us, and we've got so much to learn from them, but we've got to give them a voice, because if we don't, we're never going to know. And so so that's the ripple effect of hopefully teaching people to then become advocates, to become animal communicators, pet tarot therapists. So then it just kind of keeps going from there. So that's kind of that's what pet tarot is.
That's incredible. And I have a million questions, as you can just imagine. But, I have a circle around me of psychic medium friends who some can communicate with animals past and present, and all beings, basically. Is that also part of your bag? Like those animals that are past?
Yes, so I do a very specific type of reading for animals who have passed over the Rainbow Bridge. It's called a pet remembering reading. So I actually do a reading, do animal communication for that animal who has passed, and help the owner to then reconnect with their pet. So by the time they're done with the reading, they have learned tools to be able to actually sit, reconnect with their animal, bring them in, be able to connect with them and listen to them and see them and feel them. So they don't forget them. They don't forget that. So I do speak to those who have passed. So both animals and people. And I have always, done that. And so the pet remembering readings are specifically for those animals who have passed.
Yeah, and previously on the podcast, a good friend of mine in LA has connected with my dog Louie, who passed last year, and that was quite an emotional episode, can I just say? Yeah. I completely understand connecting with that energy and those souls, but there's probably people listening to this, Lisa, that go, "You're a vet." You're a vet. Vets charge a lot of money for us to take our dogs in, get taken care of, and usually when they got something wrong, it costs a goddamn lot of money.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are probably sitting there going, "Yeah, I'm mortgaging my house to pay for my pet."
Yeah.
And here you are talking about tarot with a pet. I'm not discounting either, by the way. I'm just saying, how did you come into this stage of the esoteric side of animals and connecting with them on a whole other level than just a physical, financial one?
This episode is brought to you by Dave. When you need money in a pinch, Dave can help. It's a banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly. No interest, late fees, or credit check. Join the millions already using Dave to get financial relief and sign up for an extra cash account to get up to $500 instantly. Go to dave.com/Spotify or download the Dave app now. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
Yeah. As I said, before I became a vet, I was an animal communicator. I've been communicating with animals since I was about 5, 6 years old. That's always been a part of my life. It's always been a belief of mine. It's always been who I was. And it made sense to me to become a vet, to be able to heal the animals and to treat animals. I remember that one of my first days as a new graduate, and probably for about the first year, you as a new graduate, you realize what little you do know as a vet. And I remember it was literally like in my first week, and I had this very sick cat come in to me, and I had done a physical exam, so I'd done everything that a vet should do, and I could not figure out what was wrong with this very sick little cat. I was sitting in my in the consulting room, doing my exam, talking with the owners, taking all the information, and I'm not finding anything wrong. And so I looked at this cat. It was a black cat. I cupped his little fat head in my hands, and I looked into his eyes, and I said to him, "So tell me," I said this out loud so the owners could hear it. I said, "So tell me, what's going on with you?" And the owners kind of laughed. They chuckled. They thought it was cute. Oh, look, the vet's talking to our cat. But in doing that cat then proceeded to say, "Listen, I'm really sick. I think I'm diabetic." And so I was then able to say to the owner, "Your cat is really sick. He thinks he's diabetic. We need to run some tests." So in a very few tests, so I only had to run a couple of tests, confirmed that this cat was well and truly diabetic. So, and to this day, 20 some years later, I still cup their little face in my hand and look at them and say, "So tell me what's going on with you." And so it allows me to really get to the root of the problem quite quickly and know what's going on, so I don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a whole blanket of tests, or throw this big fishing net out into the ocean and go, I hope something sticks. I'm pretty well versed in them letting me know what's going on, so I can really kind of tailor what needs to be done quite concisely and get to the problem very quickly.
Owners really must look at you a bit funny when you do that, though. They must go,
"They do. Yeah.
The cat's telling you it's got diabetes? Yeah. Like, seriously?"
Yeah,
it didn't tell us, but it's telling you.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting because I will oftentimes, not even thinking about it because it's just such second nature to me, I will say something like, "Oh, they've said something about, their favorite red toy," or very specific something, and they'll go, yeah, he definitely has one of those.
Yeah.
And it's funny because most people, they kind of go, "Gosh, that was a good guess," and don't think much of it, or they kind of just let it kind of go right over them. Sometimes, oftentimes I'm having this continuous dialogue with the animal while I'm listening to the owner. And I don't say a lot because for some people, it is not something they want to be confronted with. The people who pick it up and they hear me talk in certain ways where I will say things like, "Oh, they've said this or they've said that," the people who pick it up then become my students who want to do animal communication, because they pick it up. They kind of go, hang on a second, you got something going here. We want to know what's going on. The people who don't want to know, they don't hear it. So
I have a million questions for you, Lisa, and I'm sorry about this. I'm going to just say it up front.
Absolutely. Ask away. Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
So as you know, I've got Lola here in the studio with me. She's snoring in the corner on my meditation cushion, like out like a lizard drinking. But do you need to see an animal to read their tarot?
No, I don't. So when I read, I do readings all over the world. And what my process is when they sign up for a reading, all I ask for is a photo of the animal and a name, and I ask for nothing else, no other information. And so that gets sent through to me, and about a half an hour before before I do a reading, I sit and I connect with the animal, and just kind of let them have a conversation. And I just write down everything that they have to say, what I pick up, if I'm picking up things in their body, everything that they're having to say. And then I meet with their owner via Zoom. And we then kind of set the intention for the reading. So that kind of intention gets set where the animal then knows kind of what's, kind of being asked of them. And as I go through the reading and as the cards come through and as more information comes through from the animal, then, I continue to pass that on. I pass on everything that I've picked up before that time. But no, I don't need to have them physically in my presence. In fact, I do a lot of times in my private Facebook group, I will do free lives where I'll get on live and just do one card draws. And all the people do on the Facebook comments is put the name of their animal and what type of animal they are. And I pull cards on them for that. So I don't even really have to have a picture. I like the pictures because I can really connect. But when I'm doing it really fast and I'm kind of in flow, I don't even need a picture. I just use the name, pick up in the energy, and then pass the messages on.
And this is where you and I have so much in common, because I'm also a psychic, but and I read energy. But you've met Lola in real life.
Yep.
Do you want to pull a card for her and see what happens?
I can, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything specific you would like, or just a general, just pick a card and see what she has to say?
We're just general. Let's just go for it.
Yep. Okay. Very good. All right. Miss Lola. So the first thing that I'm picking up with her, I know that we were already talking about her little creaky joints, her little aches and pains. So she is kind of showing me that within that stiffness in her body. So that's fantastic that you have addressed that already. The next thing I am picking up on is that we get teeth trouble, dental trouble, mouth trouble. Like, she keeps showing me her teeth as being a source of either issue or pain. So whether she's had all of her teeth pulled out, or she's lost a lot of her teeth, she doesn't have very many teeth left, or she's got a bad tooth in there. Like, I keep being drawn to my upper right hand molars up there. So it might be something for your vet to have a check. Just get her teeth checked, because she's drawing me to her teeth.
Okay.
Sure. So I'm going to pull a couple of cards. She says that she talks with your other dog.
Louie, yeah?
Yes. She says she talks with your other dog.
Oh, that's incredible. That's probably why she's not so lonely.
Yes. Yeah. So she still has chats with your other dog. It's kind of almost like
he's still here.
Yeah, it's almost like he kind of like takes her around.
Yeah,
and she's showing me that he takes her around to different things and does different things. Like, he's leading her and showing her all of this stuff, almost to experience it from a different perspective. Okay. Lola. So I just randomly pick cards. I do not turn them up. I turn them face down. I spread them out, and then I just connect with them, and I just randomly pick cards. So that's what I'm doing. Sorry to turn my side to you.
No, go for it.
Okay, so I've drawn 2 cards. The first card that I have drawn is a major arcana card. This is the Judgment card. So this is a message coming from Lola that she's bringing forward for you. So with the Judgment card, what I'm getting is that you are kind of coming in, like you've kind of gone through this big transformational change, and you're kind of coming out the other side of it. So you're kind of like just getting ready to hit the new chapter that you're next moving on to. So it's like you have revisited all of these kind of skeletons in the closet. The way I like to explain it. So she's acknowledging that she's been on this journey with you in going through this. And so you guys are now both coming out the other side. So you've kind of been in the depths of hell down here, so to speak, and you're now rising above it. You're letting this shit go, I guess. And I'm sorry, that's how comes through. So she's acknowledging you in that journey that you've been on. And we know that the next card, so we can almost do a little bit of predictive tarot here. We know the next card is the World. And that is the final chapter, the closing of the book, the reflection of what has been, and now starting that new chapter, that new journey. And it's like the world is your oyster. So you've done the hard yards. You're rising above this. She's acknowledging that you have done the hard yards, and that you're letting go a lot of what has does not serve you any longer. It's just, it's kind of like you've cut the ties. Yeah. And that's kind of what the Judgment card is all about. It's about cutting those ties and going, right, I don't need this shit. Thanks. Let's move on. I've got better shit to do. So she is really, truly acknowledging you, and she has been with you on that journey. She's seen all of the skeletons, and she still loves you. We've got this big, beautiful dove that sits at the top. This would be her sitting up here. Not judging, not having any judgment.
Yeah.
So the next card we have, I don't know, I've just got like serious goosebumps over that card. So the next card that I have drawn, this is the 6 of Pentacles. So the Pentacles is the earth element, and the earth element from the animal's perspective, this is all about their self-worth and how important they see as far as what their job is. This is like the money tree. This is for her, she is acknowledging her level of abundance that she has in her family. So this is a lot about family here, and she's acknowledging the abundance of what that family means to her. And she takes her family very seriously, and she takes what she does with you. And that means, when I say that, coming to your podcast as part of her job, that's around her self-worth. She takes it really seriously. She takes seriously going to work with you, and how important that is, and that she's so thankful that you have given her that job to fulfill her and have that abundance. And we've got the 6 little pentacles here, and I almost get that there's might not be 6 in the family at the moment, but past and present, there's 6 in the family unit. So she's acknowledging every one of those little, buds on the beautiful, tree here, as far as being part of her soul family. So she's acknowledging all of that, and that's her messages for you.
That's incredible, because I think her litter had 6 puppies.
Oh, There you go. Yeah, you can. So she acknowledges all of that being very important.
That's incredible. And you know what, Lisa, before we came online, I warned her 2 hours ago. I said, Lola, you need to get it together because you're going to be on a podcast. You're a guest of a podcast, so get it together. You've got to work in 2 hours, so come on, get it together. Because she didn't eat her dinner when I told her to tonight. Because, we're on some new supplements and we're being a little special. And I'm like, no, come on, you're not coming inside till you eat dinner. But we have, and this is the other thing I want to talk to you about, like we talk about animal communication, and thank you so much for pulling those cards. That was incredible. But we talk about animal communication and the connection between humans and animals and the energy between them. Like we both read energy, right? Like whether we want to admit it or not, we do. Yes. And so when we're upset, our animals feel it, and like you were saying, she's been through all the shit with me. Yes, she has. Bloody lot of shit. Thank you, Lola. But like I was just saying to someone the other day, all the things, how we live together, because it's just her and I now. And we have our little cues. She knows when I do certain like what I don't sometimes realize is she studies me more than I do her. Yeah. And so when we went through COVID, and we were together the entire time, she's like, what are you doing here all the time? Like, what's going on? Like, and now you're gone? What's going on? But, like just in the last few weeks, we've got this habit, the two of us, where of a morning, I'll have breakfast and I'll bring her in, I'll open up the doors and I'll bring her in and she'll be like, I'm waiting for you. Are you up? Yeah, okay, cool. I'll let her in because she doesn't normally sleep with me. She's got her own bloody Taj Mahal at the backyard. But she comes in and she's like all excited, and then we sit and have breakfast and she has a little bit of that with me, and then I say to her, okay, it's time for wee-wees. And she's like, oh, yeah, yep. And so I know when she has to go, and I say to her, time for wee-wees. So she's ready to run to the back door and knows she's got to go outside. So she's ready to go, and off she goes, and exactly the first thing she does when she goes outside is go for a pee. Yeah. And so this is the communication we have between us, and then there's other things where I'll just drop certain words. I know the keywords, and I'll go, all right, and she'll wake up. Yeah. Or I will lock my phone. Yeah. That is another sound. That is a key where she'll wake up and she'll be like, what are we doing now? Yeah. It means I have your attention now. Both the dogs, when Louis was alive, they would do that in unison. As soon as I lock my phone, they both sit up and go, what are we doing now?
What's next? Yeah.
So there's all of these cues between humans and animals that sometimes we don't realise, but they're watching us. And sometimes we're not watching them. And so there's certain things that I'll say to her, and she knows. She just knows by the words. And she can also feel my energy when I'm angry. Absolutely. Or upset, and I've just got to drop a few F-bombs, and she's like, oh, I'm out of here, So, this is the other form of communication that other than the higher level that you and I know of.
That's right.
And they do. Yeah. Yes. And, we see on TikTok as well, or particularly Huskies. Is this a thing you see too? Huskies are great communicators where – you just say one thing to them and they're off, they're howling and going on. But there's certain dogs who just know how to talk. They can just talk.
Yep.
How does that happen?
I think that my belief is that animals will communicate to us in the path of least resistance. And that is whatever the easiest way for them to come through and get our attention is how they communicate. So Spencer, who doesn't really say a whole lot as far as his own verbal communication. I mean, he barks when, people come and that kind of stuff. But as far as his level of communication, because him and I have always just psychically communicated, and I have these one-sided conversations where I'm speaking and I'm hearing him answer, and then I'll re-say what he has to say, and I go, where did that come from? Like, I don't say that, you know, and it's like, you know, it's the validation that he is speaking to me. But I think some animals, they feel that they can't communicate on that level. So then they start to use their voice, do behaviors, certain things, listen to our cues, listen to our, you know, like you say, those little triggers that they pick up on. But I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many times, you know, owners will come in to the clinic and they'll be like, my pet knew we were coming to the vet today. They knew. And
yes, they know.
You know, and it's like, I go, that's because you told them that you were coming, and they picked it up. And so it does, you know, they mirror so much to us. So, you know, I always tell a lot of owners who, if they're having animals with behavior issues or psychological issues or anxiety issues, or there's a change in behavior that is out of normal, I will often turn to the owner and say, so what's going on with you?
Yes, thank you for doing that. Thank you.
They're mirroring back to you something that's going on in your life, your stress, your anxiety, that they are just mirroring. It's not because they're being naughty or bad or, you know, trying to, you know, do something just to be spiteful. It has nothing to do with it. They're just mirroring our shit back to us. And so we kind of got to go, oh, and oftentimes they're like, oh, yeah, no, there's been a lot going on. I've had a lot of anxiety. I've got a lot of stress, la, 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 la. And it's like, okay, so we need to address some of this to help, you know, fix your pet, because it's actually you. And when I do my pet partnership readings, the energetic readings, I actually do a reading for both the owner and the pet. It's a 2-phase reading because so much is about us.
Yeah.
It's them teaching us and they're showing it back to us for us to learn. And so we have to address the human stuff to address the animal stuff.
Now, like I said to you, Lisa, I speak to a lot of psychics and mediums and energy healers and all of that kind of stuff. If you were to read my energy right now, what would you say?
Well, I think that you're highly connected. You're a very spiritual person. And I think you've got a lot to give and a lot to offer. And I think people don't take you seriously. So you kind of are constantly feeling like you have to prove yourself. I can see that in your energy, where it's like, people don't take me serious, and they should, because I've got something good to say and I've got something good to share, and they're not listening. And so it's almost kind of, then it's like this kind of like, I've got to have this bravado to get people to sit up and actually pay attention to what I have to say. I also do get that if I'm going too far, you can stop me here. I do feel that you do battle some health issues. So you've been continuously working on that. I almost get it like it's kind of either lower back or hips or kind of in your spine. So that you're kind of working on, obviously quite energetically with that, but I do feel that I can sense that in behind you. What I would say is for you and stepping into your next better version is coming back to this beautiful judgment card. I think it's very fitting. It's just cut the cords and let the shit go that doesn't serve you. You have nothing to prove. You have nothing to prove to anyone. You are up here rising above it, shining brightly, and all of the naysayers and haters and whatever else is, that goes on, they're all down here in the shit, and you just need to rise above that.
And Lisa, that really does solidify with a lot of the other messages I've been getting around letting go of all the shit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, It's a no-brainer, really. So there's no surprises in what you've said. And yes, you're bang on. I do have back issues and have had for many years. So yes, you are spot on. If anybody wants to question Lisa's,
That's something that we did not discuss.
No, we have not. We have not talked previously. She has just read that on the minute right here. So, you are bang on. Seriously, bang on. And, I do, and you're going to laugh at me because I also have a corporate job, okay, in government. And yesterday I was speaking with a executive leader in a very high position. And I said, I relied on some of my psychics to make a decision and they both all aligned with this particular point of view and I went with it. And they went, well, I'm not going to laugh at you because I believe in that too. And I went, yeah, there you go.
Fantastic.
So, I find a lot of merit in this and I've got a lot of evidence and a lot, I talk about intuition a lot. I talk about energy a lot. And if, I talk about dogs a lot because I love them. And I think that if you can connect with an animal on a level where it's that deep.
Yes.
Like you don't need to talk to them.
Yeah.
They just know. Right. Like with Lola and I, we just look at each other and go, oh, okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly. And she'll look at me and I'm like, what's going on? Or she'll jump up and I'm like, what's happening? And she'll just lay down on my chest and she'll just like, I just need this minute. Just give me this minute. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Let's work it out. Yeah. And so giving each other space as humans and animals, I think, is also important, and having the time and space to listen and connect, I think, is really important. And a lot of people just see animals as a luxury sometimes. They don't understand that they're another being that we can connect with on a whole other level.
That's right. They're here to teach us so much. They've got so much to teach us about us being better humans, about us being better people. Absolutely. They absolutely are here to, truly let us get to a better place. And I think if we were to, everyone on the planet were to embrace animals as sentient beings,
No one ever wants to hear that someone they care about is struggling through their cancer journey. At the American Cancer Society, we work to make sure no one has to hear it again, because we can end cancer as we know it for everyone. Learn more at cancer.org. American Cancer Society. Every cancer, every life.
Beings who have thoughts, feelings, ideas, things to say, things to share, things to teach. We probably would be far, far, far better off than we are.
And I think there's a whole other podcast in that, I think it was just not a couple of months ago, there was an earthquake in...
Yes.
Trying to remember the country, was it Uruguay somewhere, where a dog was in the street and it knew it was coming before everyone. It was howling. And they were like, what's wrong with this dog? And next minute, the earthquake came and it was warning everyone. And how dogs smell out cancer. They have these senses that things bad are on their way. They are these beings who know more than we do sometimes.
That's right.
And the intelligence is just incredible. And I know there's different breeds and they have different abilities and all this kind of stuff, but some of them are just super beings. They really are. You can see it in their aura. It's just you just look at them and I used to have this dog that was a border collie, but it was predominantly white instead of black. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that dog would do anything I told it to. It would wear an Akubra hat and it would just sit there and it would do whatever I wanted, and a lot of, as a kid, all the dogs did whatever I wanted because they knew, I was their leader. I was the person who took care of them. I was the one who was there for them.
But it was also, too, they knew that you were acknowledging and validating what it was that they had to say, whether you knew you were or not. You were picking up, I'm very strongly clairaudient, so I hear a lot. So I hear my guides, I hear the animals, I hear people. The rest of my clairs are kind of grouped down here all together, and then my clairaudience is up here. But so many people, who are clairsentient and empathic and can feel that and know that, and they just know, to have that level of communication. The reason why they did that is because they knew that you were validating and acknowledging what it was they had to say. And I felt that way when I trained horses. And I had so many people say to me, how do you know how to do this? How do you get horses to do this for you? And at that time, I just was like, I just do, it was like, I'm not even going to go into it with you because it's just too much. I'm just doing what I do. And it was because I could get in, I could hear them saying, this is what's going on. This is how I need to be trained, ridden, fed, dealt with, handled, all of that. This is what you need to teach the rider how to do, so I can completely appreciate you feeling that level of connection, because that's the level of connection I feel. So absolutely.
And, one question that's been bouncing around in the back of my mind is I want to ask you about someone that we both probably know very well, and that is Cesar Millan.
Yes.
And the work that he does with dogs. And I learned a lot from that man, can I just say? How his energy and his assertiveness changed the way dogs reacted in his presence. And that was all energy, right?
Yeah.
And so
absolutely.
as a bit of an exercise, I tried some of his things with my dogs. And then when I recently went to LA and looked after a friend's dogs for a few weeks, she had 3 dogs. They were all little shitheads, can I just say? But when I used my assertiveness and I used the cues that he has, day and night, they changed. And people just sat there and watched me, and they were like, you're a dog whisperer. And I was like, no.
No, but I know how to talk to them. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, and I think that, while some people may not agree with his training techniques, you have to acknowledge his ability to communicate with the dogs and have that level of presence about him to be able to have that line of communication. And, and the dogs that he works with are hard dogs. They're broken dogs. They're dogs that have had, really tough lives, have been really misunderstood. And so he has to give them a level of guidance and boundaries for them to start to be able to come out of their shell. It's no different than children. That's no different than horses. It's no different. Cats are a little bit different, but but no different than horses, no different than dogs. They need that structure so they can then feel safe to be able to then blossom.
And, it's very interesting because one of the principles underneath his training is pattern breaking, which a lot of coaches do, So it's the same thing with dogs or anyone who's got a habit that you want to try and break, or a pattern that you want to break is you put that breaker in place, and he uses sound and movement to do that. And it works really, really well. Same with humans. Same with anyone, really. Yeah. But the one question that keeps bouncing around after you just said that is, let's get down to it. Mm-hmm. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Oh, very good question. I've had them both, and they're both so unique. I really couldn't say. I'm probably slightly more of a dog person. However, I have always had cats growing up. I've had, I had a gorgeous rescue cat all through vet school. He was with me for 22 years. And he taught me heaps. He studied with me through vet school. He was my, I didn't have a dog at that time. I only had him. And yeah, I mean, and then I've got the horses who are my passion. I would probably say to give you an answer, I would probably say dog, with no disrespect to all of the cats out there in the world.
I mean, I grew up with cats as well, but also dogs. But, the older I've gotten in life, there's always the joke going around that cats are assholes. Really, they are.
Well, I've always said that if cats had thumbs, they would rule the world. If cats had opposable thumbs, they would totally rule the world.
I mean, how many memes do we see where dogs are, where they're servants and cats is the other way around?
That's right.
Now, Lisa, if people want to get in touch and find out more about you and what you do, where can they go?
Thank you so much for asking. My website, so www.animalconnection.net. You can find me on Facebook. My business page is Animal Connection with Dr. Lisa. You can click on the group button and join my private animal communication group. Well, like I said, I go live a lot. I do a lot of trainings. I can send through my LinkedIn bio if they're wanting a very easy way to just click on for readings. I do have some free training available for your listeners if they go onto the website, and there is a 3 video with a workbook, Introduction, A Beginner's Guide to Pet Tarot, that they can listen to, download. They get all the trainings, in their inbox, and they can listen to that, and they get a beautiful workbook. It's one of my better, my kind of very well-received boot camps, actually. And they can DM me on Instagram, so at LD_Winters, WINTERS.
Lovely. I just brought Lola back with me for a final farewell for you, Lisa.
Oh, little Miss Lola. She's so beautiful. She's so wise beyond her years, isn't she? She's got a lot of wisdom in those little grey highlights of hers.
She's only gone grey in the last 2 years, but she is loving life. I want she normally will not sit like this, so there's something about you, Lisa, that she loves. But she's right on the microphone. You're sharing it, darling, aren't you?
You're a good girl, Lola.
Yeah. She can't hear you, by the way, but she's picking it up.
Yeah, but she just picked her ears up. She actually just picked her ears up.
Isn't that funny? Now, Lisa, I've got the last big... Yeah, Lola, I know you're tired. I'm sorry. What's a change you'd like to see in the world, and how can we bring it to life?
I really would love to see us embrace what the animals are here to teach us, to really, truly become advocates, to learn to be a voice for them. I believe that they've got so much to teach us and to offer us, and to help us become better human beings. And I've always said that Spencer and I are doing that one pet tarot card at a time. So learning how to do animal communication, having your animals read, it makes all the difference in the connection, and it just, that ripple effect continues to happen.
I love that. And Lola and I are making a change one grunt at a time, aren't we?
That's right. Yes. Yes.
You've worked out how a microphone works, haven't you? All right, I'll let you go. Lisa, I could talk to you all day. There's a million things we've not explored, but exactly. you and I could talk all day, and I absolutely love what we've covered. And I know there's a whole other level in amongst all these things that you and I both know goes on that we haven't even explored yet. But thank you so much for being a part of the Ethical Evolution.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like we have known each other lifetimes before. So I look forward, and I'm more than happy to come back and we can chat more about everything. But it's been an absolute joy, and I've just loved having this conversation. So thank you for having me.
I love it. And if maybe we could work out how dogs could wear headsets and be a part of the podcast, that'd be amazing. Exactly. Without us having to hold them.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're ready to be the change and would love to work with me on finding your voice through spiritual coaching or creating your own podcast with impact, visit ethicalchangeagency.com.
Introducing the Deep Leadership Podcast. Leadership is a people business. That's the philosophy of your podcast host, John Rennie. As a former submarine officer who spent 22 years leading businesses in corporate America before starting his own manufacturing business, he knows that leadership matters. Deep Leadership is real-world, actionable leadership advice from John and his expert guests. Become a leader worth following. Subscribe today.
Electricast.
Hey, I'm Ashley D., a media entrepreneur, mother of 3, and a woman of God. Through my podcast, Spiritually Restored, I discuss various topics about life, love, purpose, and healing, while bringing messages through the Word of God, prophetic dreams, and testimonies from myself and my guest hosts. Catch a new faith-filled message every Wednesday on the Voices of Faith podcast network through Electricast. See you there.
Electricast.